When Ned Stark arrived in King's Landing, the heat and stench of the capital hit him like a slap. Everything felt wrong. The air was too thick, the smiles too fake, and the walls whispered secrets he didn't understand. But this time, unlike in the true tale, he didn't walk into the capital blind. He was warned as he sat with Varys in the Red Keep. The spider leaned forward and whispered, "Honor is a beautiful thing, Lord Stark, but it's no shield here." Normally, Ned would have dismissed such advice, but he wasn't a fool. He'd seen the rot in Robert's court. He remembered Jon Arryn's sudden death, and now he knew this city ate men like him for breakfast. "I need more than swords," Ned said quietly. "I need eyes, ears. I need the truth before it kills me." Varys smiled, genuinely surprised. "Then you shall have it." The very next night, Ned received his first gift. A note slipped under his chamber door. "The blonde boy is not the king's son." That was all it said. It confirmed his suspicion. He remembered Robert's dark-haired bastards. He remembered the Baratheon bloodline. Joffrey was not Robert's, but instead of confronting Cersei like a fool, he waited. He sent word back through Varys's birds, "Show me more." Over the next few days, whispers K-maids spoke of Jaime Lannister slipping into the Queen's chambers. Stable boys told of odd orders to hide his comings and goings, and a serving girl tearfully revealed she'd seen the Queen and her brother in a kiss meant only for lovers. This time, Ned didn't warn Cersei. He didn't give her the chance to run. He had the proof, and he was careful. He began by reaching out to key lords in the capital who held grudges against the Lannisters. Lord Renly, Baratheon for one, had always looked at Joffrey with distaste. "You have proof?" Renly asked, half in disbelief. Ned nodded and showed him a copy of the lineage from Jon Arryn's book and a letter from Varys's spy describing Cersei's affair. "We must move fast," Renly said. "If Robert dies and Joffrey sits the throne, we're all dead." But Ned didn't make the same mistake as before. He didn't trust Littlefinger. He knew Varys didn't like chaos, he wanted peace. So he kept Littlefinger at a distance, feeding him half-truths, and watching his reaction. It became clear quickly. Baelish was playing both sides. He couldn't be trusted, so Ned had Renly gather loyal men. Sid Baristan Selmisier. Davos summoned quietly from the Stormlands. Even a few members of the Gold Cloaks known to despise the Lannisters. Varys, meanwhile, quietly poisoned Tywin Lannister's communications with King's Landing, ensuring that any help from the Westerlands would arrive late if at all when Robert returned from the hunt. Gravely wounded, Ned made his move, with Renly at his side, and with the support of several key lords, he presented the king with the truth. Robert, furious and heartbroken, asked only one thing. "Is it true?" Ned nodded. Every word. Robert's face went pale, then burned the bitch. But Ned, though shrewder now, still had honor. Send her away. Let her take her children, and go. Robert agreed -barely. But before the plan could be put into action, someone betrayed them. The betrayal came the next morning. Ned awoke to the sound of boots outside his chamber. Steel clashed. Men shouted. When the door burst open, it wasn't a Lannister soldier standing. There it was Seer, Barristan, Selmy, armor bloodied, eyes grim. "They came for you in the night. Varys warned us just in time." Outside, chaos had erupted in the Red Keep. Cersei, sensing danger, had moved first. With Littlefinger's quiet support and the loyalty of several gold cloaks bought with Lannister gold, she tried to seize control before Robert could act. But Varys had anticipated this. He had bribed more officers than she had, using the Queen's own methods against her. The Queen and Jaime had tried to flee with Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen. Renly's men caught them just beyond the Great Hall. Jaime fought like a lion 3 guards, dead before they finally brought him down. Cersei screamed curses, spitting on Renly as they took her away. But Ned knew it wasn't over. Robert was dying. The wounds from the boar had festered. The Maester likely paid off, had done little to help. Varys claimed there was nothing to be done now. He has hours left, maybe a day. Robert, lying in his bed, pale and sweating, summoned Ned one last time. "You were right about her, about everything," he whispered. "I made a mess of it all." Ned knelt beside him. "You tried to be a good king." Robert gave a bitter laugh. "No, I tried to be a drunk with a crown. Do better, Ned. Fix what I couldn't." "I will," Ned promised. "Joffrey will never sit the throne." "Then name Stannis," Robert gasped, fingers tightening on Ned's sleeve. "He's my brother, my blood, not that monster." With Robert's last breath, the tides of the kingdom shifted. Ned moved quickly. He didn't let the council gather. He didn't let the Queen's allies maneuver. He had Seer Barristan and Renly post guards around the throne room, locking it down. He summoned the great lords of the court, those still loyal to the realm. Not to the Lions and Reed allowed Robert's final will, naming Stannis Baratheon as heir, but not everyone accepted it. Littlefinger vanished. Varys warned Ned that Littlefinger had slipped out in the night, likely carrying news straight to the Lannister camp at Casterly Rock. Tywin would not take the fall of his children lightly. War was coming. Stannis, cold and calculating, arrived within 2 weeks, his banner flying high above a fleet of ships. He didn't smile. He barely looked at Ned, but he took the throne with no resistance. Cersei and her children were held in the dungeons, awaiting judgment. Ned expected peace. He expected justice. But Stannis wasn't Robert. On the day of his coronation, Stannis gave his first order as king: execute the Queen and her bastard children, and the Kingslayer. Ned stood, stunned. "They are just children, Your Grace." "They are not children," Stannis said. "They are threats, and I will not let threats live," Ned pleaded. But Stannis wouldn't bend. His god was fire and vengeance. That night, the streets of King's Landing filled with smoke. Screams echoed through the alleys. Cersei was dragged to the square. Jaime fought his way to her side, only to be cut down by Seer Davos's men. Ned turned away before the blade fell. He had chosen truth over honor, power over mercy, and now the realm would feel the cost. The flames had barely died down when the whispers began. The people of King's Landing, long used to cruelty, still reeled at the execution of Queen Cersei and her children. Even those who had hated the Lannisters found the sight of Myrcella and Tommen's deaths unbearable. They were innocent in the eyes of the public, too young to understand the crimes of their blood. Stannis didn't care. Justice, to him, was absolute. Ned Stark walked through the streets, cloaked and silent. He saw the graffiti on the walls. The Northmen brought the fire, it read. Some even blamed him directly. Varys had warned him, but he hadn't understood. The cost of aligning with a man like Stannis. The throne was now secured, but the realm was not. The Westerlands howled for blood. Tywin Lannister, cold and relentless, declared war on the Iron Throne. He raised his banners and marched east, vowing to avenge the deaths of his children and grandchildren. Riverrun trembled under the weight of incoming battles. The North, meanwhile, grew restless. Letters from Robb Stark reached Ned every week, more frantic, more suspicious. "Is it true you let the Queen's children die?" One letter read, "Is that what honor means now, Father?" Ned burned it in silence. Worse still, Renly Baratheon, seeing the blood spilled and fearing for his life, abandoned King's Landing. In secret, he sailed south with Loras Tyrell and began raising an army of his own, claiming that Stannis had no love for the realm, only power. The Baratheon brothers were now enemies. The seeds of civil war were sown. Varys remained at Ned's side, always whispering, always watching. "You see now, Lord Stark, honor saved no one. Mercy cost lives, and power demands sacrifice." "I didn't want this," Ned replied quietly. "But you chose it," Varys said. "And now the realm bleeds for your choice." Ned knew. He couldn't go home, not yet. He had to fix what he helped create. He began to rebuild the small council, placing men he trusted. Seer Barristan as Lord Commander of the King's Guard, Davos as Master of Ships, and even Maester Luwin summoned from Winterfell to replace the suspicious Grand Maester Pycelle. But every decision felt like moving pieces on a burning board. Stannis ruled, yes, but coldly, without kindness, without patience. Then came the whispers of dragons. Across the narrow sea, a girl with silver hair and violet eyes had survived. Daenerys Targaryen. She had married a Dothraki warlord and now marched with a growing classer. Rumor said she had hatched 3 dragons in fire and blood. A threat was rising one Stannis would not ignore. "We must strike before she reaches Westeros," Stannis told Ned, eyes hard as stone. "She is a dragon, and dragons must die." But Ned felt something shift in him. He had watched children burn. He had seen good men fall for bad causes. And he had begun to wonder maybe truth wasn't enough. Maybe power alone wasn't either. Maybe something deeper was missing from all of it. He remembered Lyanna's whisper in the Tower of Joy, the truth he had buried even from Robert, Jon, and suddenly everything changed. Jon Snow, Ned Stark, sat alone in his solar, a half-finished letter trembling in his hands. The ink smeared slightly where his fingers pressed too hard. He had kept the secret for so long that it had nearly turned to stone in his chest. But now, with dragons rising and the realm collapsing into war, the truth had begun to claw its way out. He had always told himself he protected Jon by lying, that claiming the boy as his own bastard was the only way to keep him safe from Robert's rage. But Robert was gone, and if Stannis ever learned the truth that Jon was Rhaegar's son, born of Lyanna Stark, he might do what he had done to Cersei's children. Worse, Varys entered without knocking, his presence quiet as a shadow. "You're writing to the boy?" Ned didn't look up. "He's not just a boy. He may be the last hope we have left." Varys nodded slowly. "Then you must move carefully. Stannis would burn him alive if he knew. I won't let that happen," Ned said. But Varys didn't reply. He simply left the room, leaving Ned alone with his guilt. Across the wall, Jon Snow felt a strange pull. Ravens from King's Landing came more frequently now, bearing cryptic messages. Sam noticed the change in Jon's demeanor, the way he stared into the fire longer, the way his hands clenched at the news of the realm's chaos. Then the letter came, written in the stiff, formal script of his father, but this time the words didn't speak of honor or duty. They whispered truth. "You are not my bastard. You are Rhaegar Targaryen's son. Your mother was Lyanna. You were born in blood and silence, but you are fire and ice both. The world will need you." I am sorry for the lies. Jon read it again and again. His hands shook. He burned the letter after, but not before Sam saw enough to guess the truth. If this is true, you have a claim to the Iron Throne, Sam whispered. I don't want it, Jon said. But that's not the same as not needing it. Back in King's Landing, Ned faced a problem worse than Lannisters or Dragon Stannis' madness. The king had begun listening more to Melisandre, the Red Priestess who claimed to speak for a god of fire. Burnings had increased. Her influence grew stronger. The court whispered of sacrifices, of cleansing flames, of a prince that was promised. She began asking questions about bastards, about the North, about Ned's past. Varys came to Ned with panic in his voice for the first time. She suspects something. You must act. I will not let her burn him. Then get him out of the North. Bring him south. Hide him, or raise him. Ned realized then that his choices had narrowed. He had tried to use the network, tried to play the game, but the game had changed. Now it was about survival. Jon needed protection, but he also might need to rise. As Ned looked out over the Red Keep, watching smoke from another burning climb into the sky, he made his decision. The boy would not hide. He would come to King's Landing, and the world would burn if it must. Jon Snow crossed into the south under the cover of darkness, escorted by a group of Night's Watch deserters, loyal only to him and Samwell Tarly. It was Sam who had forged a path through ancient maps and old Maester contacts, sending coded messages. To Varys. The spiders, birds, guided Jon through the Riverlands, far from the eyes of the Lannisters and the flames of Stannis. He arrived at King's Landing just after dusk, dressed in the black of the Watch, but cloaked in something more dangerous. A name. Ned met him in the crypts beneath the Red Keep, where Robert's body lay entombed next to the Targaryens he had once sworn to destroy. For a long time they said nothing. Then Jon broke the silence. Is it true? Ned couldn't meet his eyes. Yes, so I've lived a lie. My whole life. You've lived, Jon, Ned said softly. And that was never a guarantee. Jon paced the stone floor, fingers twitching. What now? Do I kneel to Stannis? Call myself a prince? Pretend I care about a throne I never asked for? No. Ned said, voice firmer now. You prepare. The game we tried to control is broken. Renly raises armies in the Reach. Tywin raises the Riverlands. And the girl with dragons crosses the sea. There will be no peace. And me, you will survive it, Ned said. You are the bridge between fire and ice. That means something. It must. But survival wasn't guaranteed. The moment Jon arrived, Varys' spies picked up movement in Melisandre's camp. She had seen something in the flames. A bastard born of ice, forged in war, shadowed by dragons. She told Stannis it was a sign of danger, of betrayal. The boy must die, she said, or he will bring ruin. Stannis hesitated. Not out of mercy but calculation. He had no love for Jon, but he knew that if the people heard of a Targaryen prince living in the capital, unrest would spread. The north might rise. The south might fracture. And Daenerys might see Jon as a threat. He summoned Ned to the throne room. You brought a snake into my court, Stannis said. He's no threat to you. He is fire and blood, the king growled. And blood demands fire. Ned stepped forward. Then burn me instead. Stannis stared at him long. Then he spoke to Melisandre. Let the flames show us the truth. That night, the Red Woman lit a pyre in the courtyard. A prisoner, one of the Lannister guards, was tied to the post. She chanted. The fire roared. People watched in horror, and Ned realized what was coming. They would never stop. The fire needed fuel, so he made his final move. He arranged for Jon to leave. With Varys's help and Davos's silence, Jon would board a ship at Blackwater Bay. Destination unknown. His identity hidden. One raven to Sam. One message. Keep him alive. The realm depends on it. As Jon left, he looked back once. I should stay. No, Ned said, gripping his shoulder. Your war is not here. Not yet. And as the ship slipped into the dark waters, a red glow rose behind them. Another fire. Another execution. King's Landing was no place for wolves anymore. The ship that carried Jon Snow vanished into the eastern mist, far from the eyes of fire worshippers and kings drunk on power. Behind him, Westeros cracked like ice beneath the rising sun. War had swallowed the realm whole, and Ned Stark remained in its center, watching as everything he tried to save crumbled faster than he could hold together. The small council was in chaos. Renly's forces had taken Storm's End and were now marching north, backed by the full strength of House Tyrell. The Westerlands burned with Tywin's fury, his army crushing River Run and sending waves of refugees crashing into the capital. Meanwhile, across the sea, Daenerys Targaryen's name was whispered in brothels and marketplaces like a prey roar, a warning she had 3 dragons now. 3. And in the Red Keep, the fire grew closer every day. Stannis had become colder, harder, more obsessed with prophecy. Melisandre ruled his ears. She saw betrayal in every glance, her red eyes glowing with madness. Good men, honest men were burned alive for dreams she claimed came from her god. People began to flee the capital. Even Varys, master of secrets, had grown quiet, his birds vanishing one by one. Then came the dream. Ned awoke in a cold sweat, heart hammering. He had seen Lyanna again, in that same bloody bed, whispering promise me through cracked lips. Only this time, she wasn't alone. A shadow stood behind her, tall, pale, with hair like silver fire dot. Jon. Ned knew what it meant. The realm wouldn't survive the war of kings. Stannis, Renly, Tywin, Daenerys, they would all bring fire. Jon was the only one who could bring balance. He was the child of North and South, of Stark and Targaryen, of snow and flame. If he died, Westeros would die with him. So Ned made his final decision. He summoned Stannis and bowed. I will not fight you, he said. You are king, and I am your servant. Stannis watched him carefully. You kneel now, when the war is nearly won. I kneel because I believe in the realm. And I ask one thing in return. Stannis's jaw tightened. Speak it. Let me go north, back to Winterfell. There are rumors of unrest, of wildlings moving in strange patterns. I will bring the north fully to your cause. Give me 1 winter's grace. The king hesitated, then nodded. Go, but know this, Sif, you raise arms against me, I will send fire to your gates. Ned left the next day with a handful of loyal men and one final letter. Sealed with the direwolf sigil, it was sent east, hidden among merchant cargo, addressed to a name that didn't exist. The message was simple. Winterfell is yours when you are ready. The time will come. Be more than I ever could. As Ned Stark rode into the north, the wind howled across the snows. He was no longer the warden of the north, nor hand of the king, nor the noble fool who once tried to survive King's Landing with honor. He was just a father, trying to keep the fire from swallowing the world.